Hey YouTube, hey X, it's Chuck. Well, I'm going to get out and do another drive, a little bit more organized this time with some pre-planned routes on FSD Supervised 12.5.1. This should be a great drive. I just want to engage it and let you guys see how it goes. Engaging here on Huntington Road, and this is actually the road where the beta drivers actually come up and around and onto the unprotected left-hand turn. They've added some speed humps on this road, which is good. See, they got speed hump signs in the right there, and you can see in the middle of the road, which is fine with no opposing traffic, slowing down just fine. I've definitely got some new points I'm going to try. They're in kind of a radius in this area. It is, let's see, it is Thursday morning, about 9 o'clock. So rush hour is over, but business traffic is definitely out and about. So we should see a little bit of how FSD 12.5.1 is going. So I did get a Cybertruck update prompt this morning for a 2024.26.3.1 branch, but it is not FSD. I did make a post on X. Let me watch what we got here. We do have an AT&T truck that's pulled over to the right. He's actually over by the fire hydrant, very cautiously proceeding here to the stop. Should be taking a right-hand turn here. We got an opposing car coming from the left. Should creep a little bit more and then proceed perfectly. Good. In any case, that 2024-26 branch is ahead of the current branch we're on with current FSD 12.5.1. So we're on 2024.20.15 now. I'll just show you on the software here. That's where we are. So if I took the 2024.26 branch on the Cybertruck, and this is where I'm speculating, we get Cybertruck at the end of the month, FSD, and if FSD is still on the 20.20 branch, I might not get that version pushed to my truck. Tesla typically doesn't push branches. They don't step over a branch. So if I was on .26, okay, that car was crossing the yellow line a little bit, but that no issue there. It could prevent me from doing it. Now, granted, Tesla is still in charge of this, and they can push the software to whoever they want, but generally, as a rule, you don't want to get ahead of a branch you hope to be on. So if you were going to subscribe to FSD, for example, you might want to stay on a branch that's below what FSD is currently on. If you took a more current update in the 26 branch and then you subscribe to FSD next month, guess what? It's not going to download to your car while we're on the 20 branch. A little bit of conversation on the way the branches have worked historically. Tesla could change how they do that at any time, but that's how it has been over the last 4 years. They typically bump up. They very rarely have I seen anybody go backwards without a service appointment visit and doing some sort of fix. Okay, let me talk about what we got here. I've got a new point here, and I'm going to edit the trip because I got the fire station there. But basically, I've got this intersection here coming up that is a tricky little beast. It's got multiple stop signs. It is an unprotected left in the vicinity of a, did I edit the trip appropriately? Nope, I did not. FSD South is there. All right, I think I've got that there. And I want to add FSD. Here I am fiddling again. I'm just going to let it go for this turn while we talk about it. Okay, so if you see here, I've got to see this traffic, this car. Now look, she's yelling at me. She is yelling at me because I was waiting on her. She is like, oh my God, go, go, go. You have the right of way. The Tesla decided to wait. I just politely waved at her. Very small gap here. Do not go. Okay, it decided to wait. That was good. This is the tricky beast. I've got this stop sign, unprotected left to the right, or to the left. I've got a tiny little median there that it's not mapping as a median. And then I got to join this traffic and get all the way to the right lane to cross into Temaquana. I do want to give a shout out to another one of my followers here in the Jacksonville area. Gave me this idea. Okay, here's our gap. If it waits and goes after this car, it did it perfectly. But let's see what the median provides. There's our gap, and we're clear to the right. Perfect. But it has to get all the way over to the right. Very, very nice. Good job. That's exactly what we need to do. Now, granted, the traffic let it happen, but now we're right-hand turning here with a protected green arrow over the railroad tracks. Granted, if a train was coming, that would present a whole nother scenario. Maybe I can use this turn in the future and get more iterations of this. And now we're going to get in the left lane and come up here. Now, what I did want to do was create a U-turn scenario here. So I'm going to add a stop, and I'm going to come back here to FSDBeta South. Pay attention to the road truck. See, this is hard to do. And now it's doing the U-turn here. Now look at this. This is a tight U-turn spot. There's not a spot in the median, and now it's got to creep up. Oops, stop. Okay, I took over there with my boost. That car was coming very quickly, and it proceeded, and it started to hesitate, but I was already in the lane. So I disengaged to jump out in that U-turn at my speed and ensure I went all the way over to the right lane. I don't know what the car was going to do there. So that was it was a trick. I gave it a beast of a situation there. And I think I'm liking this route. So now I'm going to go ahead and do that. And let's get this route in here. Now I'm at a light. I need to work on this a little bit more. But this scenario I think is good, where I get that unprotected left. I create a U-turn. I come back through this light at this intersection with the railroad tracks. Railroad tracks are not hard with lead cars because the lead cars usually do the right thing. What I'm trying to create at railroad track scenarios is, with nobody here, does it wait in the appropriate spot so that if a train were to come while I'm waiting, I'm in the safest spot possible, or I have a bailout scenario. And a bailout scenario is something a human does, probably not what Tesla is going to do. Meaning, like, if I was in a bad spot and a train started coming, do I have a way to move and I'm not jammed in between cars? That's what I'm talking about with the bailout spot. Okay, so obviously a protected intersection that's following the lines just right, and that's fine. Lead cars, everybody's giving its way. We got a couple lead Teslas here with a Model Y right here to the right of us. I keep looking because you never know, these may be ADAS drivers that are coming to do the turn, but I hadn't seen one yet. Okay, so the next section here is a little bit more of something you've seen before, going up and over and taking a left-hand turn onto Birkenhead. Birkenhead is our narrow road scenario. But this stretch of road right here is the Roosevelt Boulevard that makes up the left-hand turns that I test and that Tesla has come out to test. I do want to let those of you know that get frustrated that you think they're testing just one turn. If you look at the map here, every single one of these intersections that you see on the map that comes out onto this road has an unprotected left just like mine. And I've seen the Tesla drivers, like here's Yacht Club Road. There's an unprotected left right there, and exactly the same as mine. The dynamics are a little bit different based on the straightaway. So as we're coming around this bend right here, it creates this straightaway on the map that you can see that I've got showing you there, where cars really accelerate, and especially motorcycles. They really take that straightaway, and sometimes you will just, you know, here we are on a 45 or 50 mile an hour, depending exactly where, and they'll be doing 90. It's that velocity that makes the high-speed cross-traffic scenarios and the B-pillar and the creeping logic and everything that FSD's doing to get across these turns a little bit tricky, because you've got to manage high-speed cross-traffic without the benefit of parallax. The B-pillar camera is by itself looking at that 90-degree angle. And here's exactly where the unprotected left-hand turn is that I normally test, and then we go through the intersection with the stoplight. And that's another point I want to make. This stoplight is 1 block away from my UPL. So everybody that says they need to put a stoplight at my UPL, we already have a stoplight. It's just 1 block down the road. But what you'll find is humans go to that unprotected left because it's faster. And in 30 years in living in this area and part of town, every fatal accident and even dangerous accidents that have happened at that stoplight. I can't think of a single one that has happened at my unprotected left. And you might say, well, that doesn't make any sense. But actually it does, because when you go through a light, especially a protected light, you exonerate your responsibility to some extent that the traffic is clear and it's your turn to go. And if someone is barreling down this road and not paying attention and runs that red light while you're in the intersection, that's when you get dangerous high-speed accidents. And those are the ones that have caused the deaths in the last 30 years at that stoplight. But not once has there been an accident that I can remember that happened at the at my unprotected left, where the human was the one that decided that it was clear to go. So that's the point I want to make, is that the human is responsible, or the car is responsible at the UPL, to making sure it's clear and then proceeding, rather than depending on the light. Now, you could argue, and this is a fair argument, that the Tesla driving in FSD mode is looking all around for people running red lights. And I would answer, you're probably right at the beginning of a crossing section, but we have plenty of evidence that once you're proceeding, if you're going to get T-boned, you're going to get T-boned. It's just going to happen. All right, here we go. There's the protected left turn crossing the railroad tracks at a nice speed of 19 miles an hour. Let me throw up the cameras here for the narrow road scenario. Okay, we do have a large truck coming on the other side, but I think our interaction is such that we're not going to interact on the narrow road. He's going to proceed there. I do need to get a creep here, and I do have a cyclist on the other side. It shouldn't do anything but stay on its side of the road, and it did that just fine. Another speed bump here. Nice slow all the way down to 12 for that one. So they're not marked on the roads here. I mean, like on the visualization, but it's acknowledging speed humps for sure. Still no manholes. Haven't seen it acknowledge manholes. Something that's sticking up like trash or an animal or things like that, I have seen it avoid pretty well. And it is using a little bit of the middle of the lane here, which is good. And if you look in my right rear repeater, you can see it's got a nice buffer on the edge of the road there. Yeah, this is fine. All right, proceeding with a creep here. No creep limits. So they've taken away those creep limit visualizations in some of these intersections. And the median network, or whatever we're calling that blue line in the medians, I have not seen. Okay, next is a unprotected left with a suicide lane. I think I've already done this one on my first impressions drive. Okay, we do get one interaction here on the narrow road scenario. A couple cars coming here. And look, it didn't even flinch. Okay, blinker, we do have a lead car. Okay, cameras are coming off. Let me show you what we have at this intersection. And the mapping is perfect. That is the suicide lane. It is not a median, meaning like it's just marked. Typically, the car is not going into the suicide lane. It's just kind of doing its thing, getting around it. Now, I am going to edit this trip here real quick to make this correct, because last time, if you remember, okay, we're clear to the left. We're not clear to the right. So it's waiting on both sides to be clear here. And the left just closed off, so now my foot's over the brake, and it is apparently waiting. And now we might be waiting a little bit because we got a little bit of traffic coming from the left. So this is the different logic. In suicide lanes, or without a dedicated raised median, it does not jump to the middle and then wait like it does on my UPL. It waits on both sides to be clear. Some would argue that this ought to be the strategy you always use. Now we have a small gap to the left, but now we have traffic in this median. Is it going to go? It's starting to pre-roll. Oh, it pre-rolled based off of that car on the other side. Didn't wait at all. That's great. Really, really good job on that one. You just waited. Now I got my route correct. So you waited on both sides. Now, if we do that as the permanent solution, and I'm kind of talking to the Tesla team here, if we do that as the permanent solution, it might be the safest, but it is definitely going to waste time waiting on both scenarios. So we might need a combination of rerouting to a traffic signal during high traffic. So can you use your data layer to say, hey, it's not the time of day to try that turn. Let's go to a traffic light. Or, you know, in low traffic scenarios, go for, you know, the waiting on both sides to be clear. Some of the most dangerous scenarios I've felt so far on FSD 12.5.1 have been while I'm in the median, not fitting in the median, and then judging that when do you jump into the lane based on the cars that are coming from the other side. The right repeater has an amazing view, probably better than the human, once you're in the median, to look back to the right to make sure you can see. But what I'm really worried about, and I'm sure the team is worried about too, is the Cybertruck fitting in these medians. And I will tell you, in the Cybertruck, you have zero visibility at that angle of looking back over your right shoulder, because you cannot see through the closed tonneau cover. You cannot see through the sail panel. Your best view is to turn your cameras on and to look there. It's even better in the cameras than it is through the rear view mirrors themselves. I'm sorry, the side view mirrors themselves. So I don't know. I think that there's a lot of strategies on doing this, and you might just say, well, just give it the data and do what the humans do. There's some things that humans do that might not be good to put in the data set. And that's based on human vision and human visibility and the human's ability of moving its head around to create depth of perception. Have you ever noticed how a chicken or a bird moves its head around? That's because he's got eyes on either side of its head, usually, depending on the animal. And they move their head around to create parallax with a single ocular, point, a single eye. You move your head around, you create depth of perception by your brain being able to signal in together the way things work. The human, I do it sometimes, obviously I have two eyes and can turn my head and create parallax, but obviously the parallax is only created by the width of the distance between my two eyes. But if I lean forward or lean back or turn my head around, my brain is processing all of those different angles to create a depth of perception that gives me a signal or an indication of speed with oncoming traffic. So that is just one of the things. While we do have cameras that look in all directions, they cannot move other than the car moving, creeping, and you're kind of stuck with the fixed point of view. All right, I need to edit this route. I'm talking too much. I'm going to see if I can do that very quickly. And it pulled into Lambs. Okay. Oh, look, it pulled into Lambs. I changed the route, and it very quickly figured out what we were doing. I probably should have just let it pull into the boatyard. That was my, waypoint, and I got to chit-chatting with you. And but that just also shows that the speed of the reroutes happening, at least on the AI4 cars, that was pretty quick. It's a good stop here. We're both going the opposite directions. I do have a fence to the right, so I need a slow creep. Now it's very clear. And that was good. Just looking down at the camera to see how long I've been chit-chatting with you guys and if this route was a good one. 12.5.1 and this branch it's a solid build, guys. I see why it went wide. It is not perfect. We are not Robotaxi. We are not ready to get rid of the driver in the seat. But its smoothness, even the fuck-ups are smooth, as I said in that other video, is impressive. Its logic and speed of change is good. The vision seems to have priority over planning, which is good. Here's a good railroad scenario. See here, I've got a red light. It's crossing the railroad tracks in this spot, and it should go to that red line and stop. This is good. If I show you behind me, I'm well across the railroad tracks. And now it's doing a right-hand turn on red with cars in the other lanes. It's not waiting on all lanes to be clear there. And it proceeded very naturally and smoothly. I'm going to probably have to do a lot of work on railroad tracks with trains coming. Years ago, we used to have an issue with the thin railroad crossbars not being able to be seen. I'm pretty sure they can be seen today, but it is something that does need more testing. I've got a drawbridge scenario over here, and certain times of the weekends, and especially holidays, that drawbridge goes up and down. It's got some railroad-style crossbars there also. But it makes sense to me that this release goes wide. I do think this build is going to be on your cars for a long time, much like 12.3.6 was. So we're going to get everybody up to 12.5.1, maybe .2 for the hardware 3 cars. And then probably 12.5.3 for Cybertruck, or maybe even .4, with the question of what branch they're going to stay on for hardware on the Cybertruck. We'll see there. But anyway, I'm just going to get this out, let you guys keep watching. If you got suggestions, like one of my followers that gave me some of these other waypoints, I needed that nudge to kind of get out and try something different. I did have another request for more unprotected left-hand turns, so maybe I'll come do a UPL video at a different intersection and see if I can get some good aerial footage. Nice forward-facing, shot the gap with a fast-approaching car who's going much faster than the speed limit there. Yeah, so let me know what you think. This video felt a little bit more organized than the last one. I apologize for that, but I do think that having the right waypoints to create the right interactions so that I can both communicate to you while I'm driving and the car is driving, and not really fiddle with the screen too much. I didn't do it perfectly this time. I can do better. In any case, have a great day, everybody. We'll see you next time.